I'm going to go ahead and swear you in. So will you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in this proceeding shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Mr. White, will you please state your full name?
Sure, Storn White.
Storn is spelled.
Storn.
Mr. White, have you ever had your deposition taken before?
I have never had a deposition taken before.
Okay. You may know, but I'm going to go over some of the basic rules. I will be asking questions, and presumably you will be answering them. You are under oath, you understand that?
Yes, I do.
And that's the same oath you would give if you were testifying in court in front of a judge and a jury. You understand that?
Thank you for reminding me.
Okay. Everything we say in here is being transcribed or written down by the court reporter. So that means there's a few rules that don't apply to ordinary human conversation that apply to the deposition. One is we have to try very hard not to interrupt each other because it's very hard for her to write down two people talking at once, okay?
Sure.
Also, in ordinary conversation, we say things like uh-huh or and face-to-face, we know exactly what that means, but the court reporter has trouble with the sound. So if you could try to say yes or no, or using words, that would be better.
I will use words.
Okay, and if you don't, I'll say, was that a yes, was that a no? I'm not trying to give you a hard time. Okay? If you need to take a break for any reason, we'll take a break. You don't need to prove anything.
I have an important phone call at 11:15, so if this goes to 11:15, I will need to take a break.
Perfect. Just give me a timeout signal and we'll do it. At the end of the deposition, the court reporter will write everything up into a booklet. You can read the booklet. You can change your testimony if you think it's important. That is your right. You need to know, you may already know, that I or another lawyer could make a comment in court if you do change your testimony. And it's likely to be a comment on your believability, your credibility if you're going around changing testimony. So you have that right, but you're better off giving us your best, most honest testimony here today, okay?
Sure.
If you don't know the answer to a question, tell me you don't know. That's fine. If you don't remember, tell me you don't remember. If you have an estimate, if you can give me a ballpark answer, that's great. But if you don't know, just tell me you don't know, and that's fine. Okay?
Sure.
Are you under the influence of any medicines, alcohol, anything at all that you think would make it difficult for you to understand my questions and give me your most honest answers?
I am not. And your careful, slow cadence is also very helpful.
I'm sorry?
I said your careful, slow speaking cadence is also very helpful in making you understandable.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm prone to getting excited and talking quickly, you give me a timeout.
I will certainly do that.
Okay. Well, let's start with your residence. Where do you live?
I live at 149 Forbes Avenue, San Rafael, California, 94901.
And for how long have you lived there?
I have lived there since, I think it's been 5 years, since August, 5 years ago.
Do you have an ownership interest in the property?
I do not have an ownership interest in the property.
And you live there with Karen Cohen?
I live there with Karen Cohen.
Is she the owner of the house?
She is the owner of the house.
Did you and she move into the house at the same time?
No, I moved into the house after she moved into the house.
Approximately how much longer?
I moved in December 4.5 years ago. So she moved into the house a few months before I did, but we were sort of semi-cohabitating. At that time I was splitting my residence between two houses.
I'm not going to pry or anything, but is it like a life partner type relationship?
Yeah, we are life partners.
Okay. I mean, as opposed to roommates or...
Yeah, we are not roommates.
Okay. And who else lives there with you and Miss Cohen?
Let's see, we have Karen's son, whose name is Max, and he's 9 years old. And Karen's extremely disabled daughter, whose name is Ariel, and she just turned 13. We also have 2 dogs and a cat. We also have, since Ariel has 24-hour nursing care. We also very often have nurses in our house. In fact, around the clock, we have nurses in our house helping care for our disabled daughter, Karen's disabled daughter.
I understand. Have any other than nurses, have any other adults lived with you since you moved in?
No.
You have at least a general understanding of what this lawsuit's about?
Why don't you explain it to me? Because
Okay.
actually, I don't understand what the lawsuit's about.
Okay, that's fine. Well, the person making the claim in this case, her name is Eleanor Roe. She says she was walking in front of your home, was startled by a dog coming around the corner, stepped backwards, and then tripped over a rock and a tree root, falling backwards into the street.
Okay.
Okay?
And so then, what is this lawsuit about?
Oh, well, it's
Like, how does a person falling down? Does it like have to do with gravity or?
Yeah, this is a lawsuit all about
Yeah.
gravity. I don't mind sharing it with you. It just doesn't. Let's talk afterwards. It doesn't need to be
Okay.
on the-
I mean,
on the
I'm
record.
trying to understand. I'm here for some court purpose. Apparently, there's like a lawsuit of some kind, and
Right,
I think
right.
you're claiming that I caused damage or something like that.
You're not
or
a
that
def-
Karen
You're
did.
not
or?
a defendant in the case.
I see.
The claim is that the rocks and tree root constituted a dangerous condition, and that caused her to fall.
I see. So you're saying that Karen is liable for somebody's injury because we have rocks and trees on our property. That's my understanding of it.
I want you to have a general understanding.
Yeah, I'd
of the
like to have a
claim.
general
Okay,
understanding.
now
too,
you have
so
it.
Thank you very much.
And I'm going to show you a picture, which we'll mark as exhibit number 1, I guess. And then after, well, you probably don't need to see even more of these. Got the same one 500 times. All right, showing you exhibit 1. Got a tree right in the middle of the picture. Near a sidewalk and a roadway. Do you recognize that general area?
I do recognize this area.
Okay, and that's on the right-hand side of the photograph is the sidewalk in front of your home?
Yes, that is the sidewalk in front of our home.
That's Forbes Avenue?
That is to the left, that asphalt-looking thing is Forbes Avenue, that street there.
Gotcha.
And then to the right is the sidewalk in front of our home.
Okay, and between the sidewalk and the roadway, some sort of planting area.
That's correct.
What kind of tree is that?
That is a sycamore tree.
Before today, have you ever seen the large, well, I won't characterize it. Before today, have you ever seen the rock that's in the lower right-hand corner of the planting area in front of the tree?
Have I ever seen this rock that's
Yes.
near the sidewalk?
Yes.
I'm certain that it's been in my field of vision many times.
Okay. Do you have was that rock there when you moved in?
That rock may have been there when I moved in. I really couldn't tell you. It's covered with lichen, and it looks like it's weathered, so it's probably been there for a really long time. So I would presume it was there when we moved in. I did not place the rock there, so if that's what you're asking.
I was getting there. Who placed the rock there?
Could be a god. I mean, it's been there. Could have been there from time immemorial. Looks like a very old rock to me.
Okay. So I'm going to take from your answer that you don't know who placed the rock there. Is that?
And also that I don't know that anybody placed a rock there. That
Right.
rock could have been there from the beginning of time.
Okay. As long as you've lived in that home, has that rock been moved?
I don't think that rock has ever been moved. Not by my hands, not even by people accidentally tripping over it. I believe that rock has been in that location since I moved into the home, as far as I know.
Fair enough. And then to the left, as you look at the photograph, to the left, there appears to be another rock hidden behind that lichen. Do you see that?
I think that's grass.
Grass, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. There appears to be one or more rocks before you get to the street. Do you see those?
I do see that there's a rock underneath that grass.
Okay. And would your answers as to how long it had been there and who put it there, if anyone, be the same?
I will say that I don't know who put the rock there or that a person even put the rock there. I will say that the rock is covered with grass, which gives the appearance that the rock has been there for quite some time. And I'll tell you that there are other rocks on my property that probably were not placed there by the hand of man because they're buried in the earth, or they're overgrown with grass, or they're covered with lichen. So the origin of rocks is an interesting conversation subject. You probably will have to look back into a record that predates me to understand where these rocks come from.
That's fine, and that's part of the part of what we do at depositions is figure out what people know and what they don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why I said,
Yeah.
if you don't know how it got there, that's fine.
And that's why you should ask me questions. If you want to know anything about any rock placement in the neighborhood, I'll share with you any information that I have about rocks and how they got placed, or if I have knowledge about where they got how they got placed.
Fair enough. To the left of the tree, closer to the bottom of the photograph, appears to be an exposed tree root. Do you see that?
I see some kind of growth, yes.
Okay. Until you looked at this picture today, had you ever noticed that sort of growth before?
I did. I noticed the growth after I received a lawsuit in the mail that somebody was suing me for having fallen down while on my property.
When approximately was that?
That would have been in November of maybe like 2 years ago, because this ridiculous lawsuit has been going on for like 2 years.
All right. So when you got that, when you say you got the lawsuit,
Well, Karen got the lawsuit.
okay. And then when you learned of the lawsuit, did you go out to look?
I did go out to look.
And did you see that growth there?
I can't recall if the growth is actually currently still there. I know that the city came at some point and did some work in front of our house, and it may have affected that tree root.
When you went out to look in roughly November 2013, did you see that tree root?
When we got a lawsuit in the mail in roughly November of 2013, it wasn't clear where the person could have had the fall because it was very vague language. So we went around the house surveying the house, the property in front of our house, for things that might have caused damage. And we didn't find anything that stood out as being particularly hazardous or dangerous in front of our house. So I may have noticed that root, but took no notice of it as being insignificantly small.
Are you able to estimate the size of that tree root?
If you would like me to measure it when I get home, I can give you an exact measurement of the size of that tree root. I don't actually know if it exists still. So
No, it's gone.
okay, it's great that you've been paying such close attention to our property.
The planting area that is between Forbes and the sidewalk, have you used that for any kind of landscaping?
That planting area between the sidewalk and the asphalt, we have planted plants there, yes.
And we as you and Karen?
I know I have done it without Karen's consent or knowledge.
Okay. What type of plantings have you put in?
I planted like a really extremely beautiful arrangement of like maybe 250 tulips that brightened up the neighborhood and made all of my neighbors very happy. And they enjoyed walking on our sidewalk so that they could be amongst the tulips and take pictures of the tulips and enjoy the tulips.
Was that 1 year or was that a series of years?
I did that 1 year, 2 years ago.
Is there any type of automatic irrigation, or was that hand watered?
There is no automatic irrigation.
Did you hand water it?
I did hand water it.
Have you planted things in that planting strip other than the tulips?
Along with the tulips, I planted grass seeds.
Is there still grass there?
There is grass there, although it is dry and brown.
At some point, did you water the grass?
I watered the grass with a hose.
Anything else other than tulips and grass?
Those are the only things I have planted in that strip.
Have you, personally, performed any type of maintenance or of any kind on that tree? That could be pruning or...
I have never performed any type of maintenance on any of the trees in the property, and I'm woefully lazy when it comes to maintaining trees, whether they're mine or someone else's.
How about Karen?
I have never seen Karen perform a speck of maintenance on any tree in the front yard.
To your knowledge, since you moved in 4 or 5 years ago, has anybody from any agency or neighborhood or anybody at all done any maintenance on the tree that we can see in Exhibit 1?
Yes, Pacific Gas and Electric has cut back that tree. And when I noticed them cutting back the tree, I asked them, who are you to cut back this tree? Like, what gives you license to cut back this tree? And they told me that they have license to cut back the tree to keep it away from the power lines in front of the house, and that the city grants them that license by a permit.
And what was your concern that caused you to ask them what gave them the license to cut the tree?
Curiosity.
Okay.
I was curious.
Anyone other than PG&E do any work on that tree as far as you know?
I have not seen anyone do work on that tree.
Are you employed?
I am employed.
Well, what type of work do you do?
I'm a computer programmer.
You work for yourself?
No, I don't.
Who's your employer?
My employer is a company called Partender.
Partender.
Yeah, Partender.
Is that in San Rafael?
It's in San Francisco.
Full time?
Yes, it's full-time. It's more than full-time. I would be there right now if I hadn't been subpoenaed to appear with you.
Oh, let's go back to Exhibit A or Exhibit 1. We talked about some kind of a grass near the base of the tree.
Yes.
Did you plant that grass?
I did not.
Was it there when you moved in?
Yes.
You done anything to maintain it, trim it, water it, anything like that?
Sometimes I point a hose at it.
Sometimes?
I point a hose at it. But
Yeah.
it seems to strangely thrive without watering when everything else is dead. I can't explain it.
Before you learned that there had been a lawsuit, had you yourself had any communications with anyone from the city of San Rafael about the area shown in Exhibit 1?
Yes. I one day saw a city crew patching the sidewalk I saw a person patching the sidewalk with asphalt. And I said, "Who are you?" And they said, "We are from the city. We were patching your sidewalk with asphalt."
When was that?
That was probably in the early fall of 2013.
So when you went out in November of 13 with Karen to survey the property, that asphalt patching had already taken place?
That is correct. And not only in front of our house, but in front of many houses in the neighborhood, there was asphalt patching that was fresh.
Other than that conversation with the city worker who was patching asphalt, had you had any communication with anyone from the city about the area shown on Exhibit number 1?
No.
Since the day that you had that conversation while they were patching the asphalt, have you yourself had any communication with anyone from the city about that area?
I have not.
Okay. To your knowledge, has Karen?
I don't know.
Do you have a sense of what they were patching in that area?
They were patching the sidewalk. They were, I think, trying to bridge a gap where a piece of the sidewalk was slightly raised, although it's not clear that they made the surface any flatter by adding the asphalt. In fact, now I tend to trip on that piece of asphalt at night, where before I did not. So,
And is that area Where on Exhibit 1 is the area that you feel like they made it worse, not better?
Yeah, if you look on the sidewalk area to the right of the tree on Exhibit 1, and you count from the rock that you have such great interest in, and look at like sort of 2 cracks in the sidewalk back, you'll see that there's a line that's slightly darker because the concrete is very slightly raised by maybe, I don't even know, 1/4 of an inch. And that is where they place the patch.
Is that the only place they patched?
No, I think they also placed some patches closer to the corner. Maybe on that crack that's directly in front of the rock, or maybe just to the right of the rock. But I would have to go look in order to be certain where they placed the asphalt.
Did the crew, I assume it was more than one person?
It may have been one person, actually.
Okay. Did that one person also remove the tree root that's shown in Exhibit 1?
I wouldn't know. I didn't notice him removing a tree root.
Did you have any conversation with him about that tree root?
I did not have a conversation with him about the tree root.
When you and Ms. Cohen surveyed the property after hearing of the lawsuit, did you take any photographs?
We did not take any photographs. The insurance company came and sent a person to take photographs.
And when was that in relation to you learning that there had been a lawsuit?
Probably within a month. Probably within 2 weeks.
Do you have copies of those photographs?
I do not have copies of those photographs. I can tell you that they mostly photographed the area near our driveway because our sort of understanding of the very brief description of the accident made us think that it might have happened in front of our driveway, and we couldn't find any place that seemed to be particularly hazardous in front of our house to focus our, photographic evidence taking. So those pictures may mostly be of our driveway area.
And as we look at Exhibit 1, from the bottom heading up to the top of the page, toward the top on the right-hand side, is that your driveway?
Yeah, you can see, actually you can't really see the driveway. You can see a place where near the top right corner of the picture of Exhibit 1, there's a white picket fence that goes inward, and that is the entryway to our house. And if you look far in the distance, you see another sycamore tree, and the driveway is beyond that sycamore tree on the right.
Okay. Are you aware of anyone else who's tripped in the vicinity or the area shown on Exhibit 1, other than what you've described, your issues with the asphalt and Ms. Roe's claim?
Sure. We have an extremely disabled daughter who can walk, although barely walk. It took many years to teach her how to walk. And she walks up and down that sidewalk all the time. And she trips on her own feet in the vicinity of that corner and in other places on that sidewalk and other sidewalks. She's not a very good walker. She's never fallen and hurt herself gravely, but when she walks, we hold her hand because she does have a tendency to trip over her own feet.
Okay. Anyone else?
Nope, that's it.
Have you seen any correspondence, anything in writing between Ms. Cohen and the city relating to the sidewalk area?
I have not.
Have you sent anything in writing to the city?
I have not.
Has she?
I don't know.
Have you, well, let me back up. Mr. Haar, do you represent the witness do you represent the witness?
No.
Okay. Have you spoken with Mr. Haar at any time before today?
I have never spoken to Mr. Haar before today.
Have you spoken to anyone you understood to be an attorney for Ms. Cohen?
I have not spoken to, well, I have spoken to attorneys for Ms. Cohen before, but not related to this matter.
In what context did, oh, I see. Okay. The attorneys for Ms. Cohen, law offices of Mark Lowbray.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Have you spoken to any of those lawyers?
I have never spoken to any lawyer from Mr. Haar's law office.
Okay. Has Ms. Cohen reported to you that she has spoken to Mr. Haar?
Yes, I'm aware that Ms. Cohen has spoken to Mr. Haar.
Okay. And has she summarized Mr. Haar's conversations with her?
She has.
I'll assert my attorney-client privilege with Ms. Cohen.
I think that's fair unless Ms. Cohen then shared it with somebody else with whom or for whom the privilege does not apply. Happy to talk about it.
I'm going to still assert the privilege, man.
All right,
You can ask him questions subject to my objection and the assertion of my privilege on behalf of Ms. Cohen.
Well, let's just create the proper record and maybe save some time. If I ask Mr. White what Karen Cohen told him about what she learned from her lawyer, will you object and assert the privilege?
I will, because there still may be an anticipation of privacy, even though she shared that with Mr. White.
Do I have to go through the song and dance of every question, or can we just?
No, we'll just do the ongoing
Okay.
objection if you're okay with that.
Well, I don't want to ask questions and just have you object. Let's just agree
Right.
that you won't allow those. And let me just, for the record, clarify: are you and Ms. Cohen legally married?
Nope.
Are you registered domestic partners?
Nope. But you will be, I'm sure, happy to congratulate me that she has accepted my proposal of marriage.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You may want to hurry before I file a motion.
Lawyers are hilarious, aren't they?
It's just fucking bare monkeys.
If you did what we did, you would find anything amusing. Have you yourself communicated with any of Ms. Cohen's attorneys relating to this event in writing?
Nope.
Do you angry at Ms. Roe for having brought this claim?
Objection, Holden.
It goes to the witness's attitude toward the lawsuit, his bias, motivation. Anyway, you can answer.
I will answer. I don't know Miss Roe, so it's hard for me to be angry at Miss Roe. I can say that we have many neighbors in our neighborhood that walk up and down Forbes Avenue every single day, literally hundreds of them, because it's a very beautiful street that's tree-lined. And we have generally been welcoming to the people that walk across our property on our street. And we take pleasure from the fact that they enjoy walking up and down our street. And we invite them to walk up and down the street in front of our house, and we try to create a pleasant, safe environment for them as they walk up and down the street in front of our house. It's really inconceivable to us as like pleasant people who live in a house quietly and try to provide a safe, enjoyable atmosphere for our neighbors and a welcoming atmosphere for our neighbors, that one of our neighbors would sue us for many hundreds of thousands of dollars for an incident that happened on a day when we were both at work and not at home, and that they would continue with this lawsuit many years later. And I will say that I do hope that through karma or whatever mechanism that it comes back to bite Eleanor Roe. I would hope very much that, like, I do feel strongly that, like, she probably doesn't brag to her friends at work and her colleagues at work that she's suing somebody for having had apparently a rock in a tree as part of the landscaping of their house. And I'm sure that she doesn't, when I speak to other people that are my friends and neighbors in the neighborhood, they find it absolutely ridiculous that I would be summoned away from my workplace on a day like this to testify to you about the rock and the tree and other landscaping in my house, and that I would be subject to the hazard of pain, literally many hundreds of thousands of dollars or $1 million. You can tell me, I don't even know how much you're suing me for, suing Karen for, but that our family would be subject to that stress, that we would be subject to that waste of time, that our neighbors are subject to the waste of time, that these lawyers are subject to that waste of time, that the court system is subject to that waste of time for apparently having committed the grave, according to you, the sort of grave mistake of having like trees and rocks naturally growing in front of our house is fucking ridiculous. And so I think that's fucking ridiculous. I think you're fucking ridiculous. I think that Eleanor Roe is fucking ridiculous. You know how to spell fucking ridiculous?
I do now.
Okay, good. And so, yeah, that's my feelings on it. I don't know her personally. I don't hate her personally. I do hope that she suffers professionally and personally. Like, I really have I have no good wishes towards Miss Roe or yourself, frankly, that you would take such a ridiculous case. Sorry, fucking ridiculous case.
I asked.
Yeah, I answered.
Now, when you have in the past called Ms. Roe a sourpuss.
I have never called anybody on this planet Earth a sourpuss in my life.
In writing?
I don't think I've ever called anybody a sourpuss. If you can find an example of me calling somebody a sourpuss, I would find that so hilariously funny, because that's just not a word that's in my vocabulary. I may have called her many, many things, but sourpuss is probably not one of them.
You called her a psychopath?
I think I called you a psychopath.
Okay. When did you call me a psychopath?
I called you a psychopath this morning.
Oh, not to me, though.
Not to your face, but I will now, if you'd like me to.
Then doesn't matter to me.
Okay, I think you're a psychopath.
Thank you.
I think you're sad for taking a case like this. Like, it can't be a highlight of your career, can it?
We'll find out.
Yeah.
You ever mention the blackness of Ms. Roe's withered, dysfunctional soul?
No, I mentioned the blackness of your withered, dysfunctional soul. That was this morning, but I may have. You know, it's possible that I've mentioned the blackness of her soul. I do think like somebody who would sue their neighbor after crossing their property on an enjoyable day has got to have a black soul, and I think somebody who would participate in that lawsuit has got to have a black soul too, if they have a soul at all.
When you first formed your opinion about this claim or this lawsuit, you were under the impression it was about slipping and falling in front of the driveway, correct?
Well, we never had any contact with Miss Roe, and we were actually unaware that there was any incident that ever occurred in our house related to somebody falling and injuring themselves. What we received in the mail was a packet of legal information that said things like, just give this to your insurance company and they'll deal with everything. And really no description. It took us like literally digging through the information for like 10 minutes before we found like a very small paragraph that described the incident in like 3 lines. Based on that extremely small, hazy description, we thought that it's possible that, what was the question? That the incident happened in front of our driveway?
Well, when you first formed your opinion about the merits of this lawsuit and the psychology of the people who would bring it, you were under the impression that Ms. Roe had slipped and fallen when Zeus barked from behind a fence, correct?
Well, the lawsuit that was delivered to us said that Zeus had barked. Said that a dog that was claimed, I think, in the lawsuit was ours, had barked at a person. And so we presumed it was from the other side of the fence because he's usually on our side of the fence. But we had no way of knowing, because since we didn't really know what the day was that it happened or anything like that, we had no way of knowing if Zeus barked. He could have barked from the backyard as far as we knew. All we knew that there was some contact with a dog that Eleanor Roe felt contributed to her falling. But we did not recollect any incident where Zeus barked at a dog and a person fell. And Zeus is not in the front yard without us, and he may have barked at her through a fence from the backyard. I don't know. So it's hard to really, I mean, if you're asking like when I first formed it, what was our impression of it? It was just really like confusion that some event had happened many months before that we had never known, that somebody could have been injured in our property without us knowing, that a neighbor could have been injured on our property without like informing us that they had been injured on our property, or without trying to find any sort of, like if they had some, you know, safety issue with our property without informing us that our property was unsafe, if they had a safety issue with our dog without informing us that our dog was unsafe, if our dog was involved in an incident that caused a person to be injured that we didn't hear from the police department, or that we didn't hear from the animal control that our dog had contributed to an incident where somebody had become injured. So I would say that what our reaction, emotional reaction to having been sued out of the blue by a perfect stranger that we had never met before and never known had even crossed our property, was confusion.
And you formed an opinion based on that, out of that confusion, that she had slipped and fallen because Zeus barked at her from behind a fence?
No, I formed an opinion that somebody was claiming to have slipped and fallen because a dog barked at her, but it was a very, very small, ill-formed opinion based on a quite vague and small description of some event involving somebody slipping and falling in some way and getting injured in some way in an incident involving a dog on our property.
I have marked as exhibit 2. I didn't mean the staples, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That your Facebook said?
Oh, I did. I called her a sourpuss. Look at that.
There we go.
One sourpuss in Sun Valley slipped and fell on the sidewalk in front of our house after a Zeus dog barked at her from behind a fence. She is suing us for $340,000.
All right, is this from your Facebook page?
This is from my Facebook
Okay.
page.
And you wrote that paragraph?
I did write this. And I surprisingly used the word sourpuss. It's remarkably mild language. Oh, look, and I did. I said she had a said Zeus dog sniffed out the blackness of her withered, dysfunctional soul.
What do you think, I made that up?
I don't know. I don't know where you got it. I mean, to me, it's creepy that you're creeping around the Facebook page, but you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, and look at that. It describes, like, you can see clearly, you can see the reactions of our neighbors, thinking that it's a totally stupid inane. Look, one of our neighbors says it's a crock of shit.
Yeah, they were responding to your...
Looks like someone is looking for a reason to sue. I hate crap like this. Damn, that's horrible. And then I said, it's a little disturbing to come home and find somebody proposing that they should take everything you've got. We didn't sleep well last night. This to me looks like a person who's under duress because he's being sued for a just remarkable amount of money over some incident that we don't even at that time understand at all clearly.
And your neighbors or friends are responding to your description of the event, correct?
That is
Oh,
correct.
speculation.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
All right. To your understanding, Ms. Cohen is insured for this event?
Objection relevance.
It goes to his bias motivation. He's saying that we propose to take everything from him or from Ms. Cohen when...
I do know for a fact that Ms. Cohen's name is on the lawsuit, so
Okay.
you in fact were proposing to sue the shit out of us.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm proposing that her insurance company pay us, but that's...
Well, I don't see the insurance company's name on the lawsuit. I see Karen Cohen's name on the lawsuit.
I-
Whether we have an insurance company or not, you're suing Karen Cohen.
I see. That
Correct?
the law requires that, we're not allowed to sue the insurance company. So,
Yeah,
the way-
that's right. You're suing Karen Cohen.
That-
And if whether we had an insurance company or not, you would be claiming that we were liable, would you not? I mean, the injury would have happened the same way whether or not we had an insurance company, and Karen's name is on the lawsuit. So for me to be upset that you're trying to sue us for an unfathomable amount of money, far more than our annual incomes, for an incident that we were unaware of, yeah, I think is reasonable.
Have you ever had any communication with the city about who owns the area where this event allegedly took place?
I honestly don't know where the incident allegedly took place.
Well, let's talk about the area depicted in Exhibit 1.
Yes.
Have you had any conversation with the city, any communication with the city about who owns that area?
Like what, the public street there, the asphalt?
Well, there's a public street, there's a sidewalk, there's a planning area, and you've referenced that as your property several times.
Parts of it are my property, parts of it are the city property. I presume that's described in the deed, and you're welcome to check it out if you want to know like where the property lines are.
All right. Which part do you believe is your property?
Well, I usually spend most of my time inside the house, and so that's the part that I really care about.
Okay. So do you have an understanding as to whether?
I have never checked the property records. I've never participated in a survey of the property. I actually have no idea where the property line is.
How about the planning area?
I have no idea who owns the planning area.
Questions at this point, but Ms. Hankel's might. The originals go back to the court reporter.
I just have a few questions.
You want to sit here?
No, I'm fine. I don't. If you have a hard time hearing me, I will speak up. Just briefly, I introduced myself before, but more formally, I'm Robert Hankels. I'm appearing here today on behalf of the city of San Rafael, who is also a named defendant in this lawsuit. I just have a few follow-up questions. I hope not to go over things too much again. You testified previously with respect to this planar area that's reflected in Exhibit 1.
Yes.
And I know you testified about how, at one point you put really beautiful tulips in there, and you put grass in there as well, correct?
That's correct.
And did you ever talk to anyone at the city with respect to putting the tulips there or the grass in that planning area?
I did not talk to anybody in the city, and I did not talk to Karen. I picked up a pickaxe and I put the tulips in.
Right. Just, and then I think you said before about how you take a lot of pride, you and Karen take a lot of pride in living in a neighborhood and having a sidewalk in front of your house where lots of people walk down on a daily basis. Is that an accurate description of what you were saying?
That's correct. We enjoy having wonderful interactions with our neighbors every day.
And one of the things that you were proud of was their response to the tulips that you had put out there.
That's correct. And to this tree-lined street. Forbes Avenue is known for being one of the more beautiful streets in San Rafael, and there are many people who enjoy walking their dogs, walking as couples, and running up and down the sidewalk in front of our house on Forbes Avenue, and it's one of the things that we enjoy about the location. There are many wonderful people who enjoy walking in front of our house. And we welcome them.
And so, it's not irregular at all to see pedestrians walking down the sidewalk in front of
There's
your house.
a constant stream of pedestrians in front of our house. It was unusual to not see pedestrians walking up and down in front of our house.
And is this something that you talk to your neighbors about as well, that the street you live on is a high-traffic pedestrian area?
Yeah, I don't know about relatively high traffic. For a residential neighborhood, it's relatively high traffic. And yeah, it's one of the things that me and our other neighbors enjoy about the neighborhood is that it's so friendly and open, and that we meet so many wonderful people walking in front of our house.
So other than this subject incident, have you ever heard of anybody tripping or having any issues with any of the property that's depicted here in Exhibit 1?
I have never heard of anybody. In fact, I was unaware that somebody had been injured on our own property. I have never heard of anybody suffering a serious injury while walking on Forbes Avenue in front of our house or in front of any of the other houses, many houses on Forbes Avenue that have similar sidewalk conditions and similar, trees, like similar, existence of trees and rocks and grass and landscaping.
So, and then prior to hearing about this lawsuit, had you ever formed an opinion that the area depicted in Exhibit 1 posed any type of hazard to pedestrians on
Wait,
that sidewalk?
Before you answer objection, irrelevant and calls for expert opinion, but the way we do it is you still get to answer.
Okay. Yeah, I had formed an opinion that our neighborhood and our street, Forbes Avenue, was one of the safest, most pleasant places to walk in the city, and that's why we have such an abundance of pleasant pedestrian traffic on a daily basis.
Okay.
Probably, I would forget it.
And I sorry, and I appreciate that response, but can you please repeat the question that I asked?
1 minute, please. And then prior to hearing about this lawsuit, have you ever formed an opinion that the area depicted in Exhibit 1 posed any type of hazard to pedestrians walking down the sidewalk?
No.
Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Har, I assume you have none?
No.
Maybe one or two. When you work for bartender, do you generally work in San Francisco or out of your home?
I work in San Francisco.
So you're not home during the day, during the work week that often?
I'm not currently. In the past, I have been self-employed and worked at home, but I currently do not.
When was the last time you were self-employed and worked at home?
Well, I started working for bartender in January of this year.
And immediately before that, were you working at home?
I was working at home immediately before that.
For how long?
Some number of years, probably since the spring of 2013.
Okay. And before that?
Before that, I had my own company. I worked in West Oakland.
Physically, and you worked in Oakland?
Yeah, physically in
Okay.
Oakland.
All right, nothing further. You are free to go unless somebody else has a question.
Thank you.
I'll walk you out.
Great.